It's good to be here again, and good morning to your cherished listeners. It's quite interesting, because I thought that the gravy train of actually making this an MPP, NDC matter left the station a long time ago, and we had reached a bipartisan perspective of it.
No, we haven't.
When you were speaking, nobody interjected you.
That's fine.
Right? So,
but I'm just making up. We haven't got
No, yeah. So this is me having my opinion.
Okay.
Yes. So as part of the reset agenda, we are not in the business of MPP, NDC. We are on a national course, right? And the president needs to take prudent measures in reaching a saturation of what would culminate in a state of emergency. I think that we are all using the term state of emergency very loosely, but that is a very heavy decision to make, right? It is sort of a last resort, right, for an executive decision of a president and commander-in-chief to make. And that is sparingly used on the advice of, National Security, Council of State, Army commanders, service commanders, among others, and experts. Now, this is what I'm thinking in terms of, this is me trying to get into the president's mind. If I get into office to tackle an issue, hydra-headed, multifaceted in terms of trying this approach, which has been long-standing and predates my government. 8 years standing, we had what it was as far as Galamsey issues were concerned. If I come in and I go for the topmost heavy decision to take as a president, which is a state of emergency, what kind of leadership would I be exuding in trying to solve a particular problem?
Because government is a continuum.
It's a continuum, yes.
And we got to a point where we knew that we had exhausted all the tools.
All the tools, yeah, but this is what I'm saying. This is a hydra-headed beast.
And it's time-bound.
It's time-bound, right?
Because security zone, do you know how different that is from red zones declared?
No, I'm coming in. I'm going to talk about the security zones, among other issues, because I see a step-by-step approach here as far as the president is concerned, where prudence is applied. Because if you say, constitutionally, he's bounded by the 1992 Constitution, the Public Order Act, the Emergency Power Act, and the executive instruments to initiate these heavy decisions that he needs to. Now, when we say, possibly you lawyers may ask of a threshold of what determines a state of emergency, that is something very discretionary because it's vague as to what, even though...
It's not vague. I just read it.
Yeah, when I say vague, I mean the latitude is wide, right? We did understand that.
It's not vague. It says the circumstances under which a state of emergency may be declared under this article include a natural disaster.
Yes.
And any situation in which any action is taken or is immediately threatened to be taken by any person or body of persons which is calculated or likely to deprive the community of essentials of life or renders necessary the taking of measures which are required for securing the public safety, the defense of Ghana, and the maintenance of public order and of supplies and services essential to life of the community.
Yeah, so that's what I'm coming to. You look at the latitude of it. So a lot has to be put in place. Now, if the president was sitting idle and had never taken any step in the last 9 months since assuming office, then would say, okay, well, go for your last resort. But here's a case he's putting prudent measures. Something that has been existing for a longer period of time, you don't take one day or a particular decision that feels that that would be the end of it. Now, if we even say we're going for a state of emergency, how long would this going to last? How long could it be contained, among other issues? So can we exhaust some practical steps leading up to a state of emergency? Now, what are the practical steps that are being exhausted as of now? We're talking about, 1,400 illegal miners arrested in the last 8 months. That is quite significant.
His promise was to arrest the kingpins.
The kingpins, yes.
His promise was that he would rather free these hangers on.
But 9 months, if you start to arrest 1,400, you're snowballing to the kingpins. Because you can't go for the kingpins out of isolation. The connection to the kingpins are the limbs. Right. So we talk about 440 excavators and champagne machines seized. But the fundamental question I ask myself is something.
The NPP era for the cumulative period had arrested 850 And out of that number, 76 have been prosecuted and convicted.
You see, I don't even want to make this comparison. The people of Ghana would, because I said the politics of NDC MPP, that gravy train left a long time ago. We're approaching it a bipartisan perspective as far as our reset agenda is concerned. So I'm not even going to throw the numbers of 1,400
arrests in 9 months.
Yes.
As against 850 in how many years?
In 8 years. It's up to you. The jury is out there to judge. We leave that to the court of public opinion.
76 prosecuted and convicted.
Yeah, but we're talking about 9 months. You know what
the 1,400. We don't know how many will be prosecuted.
But you know the prosecution takes a period of time.
But the president told us what the focus should be.
Yes.
It should not be on these workers. It should be on the kingpins.
On the kingpins. That's what I'm saying. But if you get there, how do you get the kingpins? You snowball from the workers to the kingpins because they were hired by someone. There's possibly a middleman somewhere who would also be an informant to who the real kingpin is.
Okay.
Right. And this arrest is the first initiation, right, that would snowball to the arrest of the kingpins. I keep saying the pinstripe mafia are the kingpins. And I agree with the president that these are the people we should go after. Right? They are probably not even in
These are the people he said he will release.
Yes.
He'll give amnesty. Okay, please go on.
Well, so I don't think that's what he really said. If you interpret,
he was exact.
Right, with the kingpins.
Nobody is putting words.
No, I mean kingpins that he was going to give amnesty to kingpins.
No. Amnesty to these kinds of people.
Yeah, the ordinary people are seeing it as a livelihood issue, which is part of our poverty endemic issues that we have as a country. We face economic challenges. So I think that it's only prudent to say, okay, well, if I get you. You know the plea bargain regime, the issues even in law with society. If you can lead me to your boss, help us with get A, B, C, D, we would give some amnesty to you. So I just want us to contextualize these things. And if they get the amnesty now, retrain.
They're not contextualizing. We are redefining what the president said.
Giving,
if he says that he will use the small fishes to catch the big fishes, then that's fair.
Yeah, that's fair. Okay, so, and if they retrain them, give them artisanal skills, and put them back to the economic chain, I think that's very important, right? So it was not really done in a bad light. It is done to actually streamline the system. Now, if anyone thinks that there's no correlation between proliferation of small-scale mining licenses and illegal mining licenses, then I think that's very faulty. Because when you have proliferation of small-scale mining, small-scale mining, as you said, the lines are very blurred. It's difficult to determine who is legal or who is illegal. So you issue more licenses and you are regulating. Who are you regulating? You are regulating, imagine regulating 59 small-scale miners and regulating 1,000 or 2,000. I'm quoting Joy's data here in terms of licensing issue from 1988 all the way through to the period of 2025, right? Between 2017 right, and 2025, we're talking about 2,151, right? And it's instructive to note that since President Mahama assumed office, none has been issued, right? Between 2009 to 2016, this inclusive of the Mills Mahama administration and the Mahama 1 administration, 59. So if you're looking at this comparative level, managing 59 small-scale miners and managing 2,000 plus small-scale miners, in between, where could you find the gray areas of illegal mining activities? It's a 2,000 plus. So if you say there's no correlation, I'm really wondering where that is coming from. So this is the beast in the room. This is the elephant in the room. And these are the issues we ought to look and unpack from a very, non-partisan perspective and take a partisan perspective. As I sit in studio, I'm not ready to go NDC MPP. Let's speak to the issues. Now, over the last couple...
Because you have used it to gain power.
Well, I wouldn't say we used it to gain power.
Yes, you did.
Because we campaigned, right, on what we will do. And the steps are being taken by the president in what he should do.
Okay.
We're talking about excavators. We're putting stringent measures on how to...
Tell us about security zones.
Yeah,
I'm interested in how different that is from, like, the red zones that...
No, but I mean, if you look at security zones, right, what it invariably says is that there will be restrictions to these areas, right? That in and of itself mimics a certain state of emergency, if you like to say loosely with how we use the word, because there will be presence of security forces. There will be patrol of security forces. You just don't have entry and access, right? No thoroughfare, etc., etc. So there is clear restrictions as to what that should do. And these are the key variables any president or anyone with executive order or power to issue an executive instrument ought to explore, execute, and exhaust before you reach the saturation and full threshold of the discretion of what you would call a state of emergency. And I think that is what President Mahama is prudently doing.
You're talking about the list of things that were being done.
Yes.
After 1,000, you were moving to something.
Yeah, I was moving the turbidity of water level. Okay. Right, which is very important. I think that has been center stage in the discussion. Also, I think that the framing of that is very important, because when you do that, and the efforts that have been put by the government of the day in the last 9 months, without a real contextualization and framing of it, again, it allows room for this partisan perspective, right, of risk packing the locomotive gravy train of NDC MPP. Why do I say this? When we say, turbidity of water, it can change rapidly, quickly. Rainfall can even affect that, right? Drainage issues can affect that. Runoff, discharge of water or wastewater can affect turbidity. The question is, the data sits with these water companies. In the last 8 years, what has been the various turbidity levels of water? Can we juxtapose that to see where the intensity of these turbidities have been? Right. If we are able to plot these graphs to say, this is what has happened in the last couple of years between X period and Y period, right, between A period and E period, then we're able to say, okay, well, at this particular moment, or possibly in the last 9 months, it has intensified than ever before. Then we're beginning to have a proper contextualized.
We've used one example of the PRA and the IUC.
Yeah, we can use.
But we know there are others where there has been an improvement.
Yes. So there are others where you have. What brings about the improvement? It is the effort by the government of the day. Right. So I don't think that this should be about NDC, MPP, or who campaigned on what. As a political party, we campaigned that, yes, we'll come in and help salvage this Galamsey problem. Are we not putting these steps in place? Are several measures not put in place? Because you look, I talk about all of these issues. When we talk about even the hydra-headed nature of Galamsey fight, among other issues, Samson, if you look at gold production in this country, right, you look at what comes from small-scale miners and what comes from large-scale miners. There's such a stark production in terms of quantity. Now, where do these go to? The big channels, India, China, the UAE. What collaborative measures are we making with the high commissions and embassies of these countries to see how we can have fair trade gold devoid of Galamsey, child labor, etc., in getting into the global value chain of gold trading? And this is where we see the Gold Board making several strides in trying to also eliminate this. And you saw the rapid nature with which we accelerated in setting up a bill and putting up a board for the Gold Board to get into action, and what it's been doing with these task forces in terms of supporting them. Something, again, you look at all of these issues, we should just not exist in isolation. I think that the multinationals ought to come. We're calling for a state of emergency as part of the tough draconian measures we are calling for. Can we, for the next 2 years, say they should channel their corporate social responsibility to fighting Galamsey? Let's ignore everything. Put it on hold on discretionary spending of what these multinational think they want to do to have a good face. The greater face we want to have as a country is to curb Galamsey. So let's come together with AGI, the Chamber of Mines, and other stakeholders to say, look, for the next 2 years.
By that you mean they should channel their corporate social responsibility into alternative livelihoods?
Alternative livelihood, supporting security agencies, supporting government, and all agencies that are geared towards achieving, very less impacts of Galamsey.
Okay.
You see, when we talk about even small-scale mining, you look at those who are into the mining research areas. I'm sure our scientists would help us understand this. Within even the social facets, you would have multinational firms ceding off some of their unproductive yields, or they feel that they may not get much from if they invest into small-scale miners, right? When you do this also, you would realize that you have a lot of small-scale miners operating within these areas. So the more licenses you issue in this regard, it becomes difficult to determine who is legal and who is illegal, And mind you, the reason behind the law for small-scale mining, which is the sole preserve of Ghanaians and not foreigners, is that it is capital intensive. But we want to help our people get into the mining value chain and earn a livelihood, which is why those requirements has been reduced, and there have been measures to ring fence and allow for Ghanaians to have full participation in that. Maybe it's about time we revisit this. We've probably outlived, or the law has outlived its usefulness. We have a capital market now. We have, various financial institutions, among others. We should probably find a way of getting Ghanaians elevated within the mining value chain.
All right.
So I think that there's a lot more to be done. The government is doing a lot.
Thank you.
We need to cut the president some slack. Let's stop that gravy train of NDC, MPP, and try to put a bipartisan approach to this.
Well, as we speak,
and part government at the back.
As we speak, some 10 districts in the central region